and give it a taste. Look at that. Well, hello, Rainy One. Today we are going to learn how to make one of my favorite probiotic drinks, kombucha. If you want to know all about the benefits and what kombucha actually is, check out this video that I previously did explain to you in great detail what actually is this SCOBY and what are the health benefits of kombucha. But for today, we're just going to get right into making it because it's a process. It's about 3 different steps, but let's go over what you need first. Of course, you're going to need a SCOBY. Now, every time you make a kombucha, you're going to grow a new SCOBY. I have way too many SCOBYs here. There's a little bit of a story behind that. But I am going to, after this batch, I am going to get rid of half of the SCOBY. You don't want to have more than a 1/4 inch thick or maybe more than 4 SCOBYs. The more SCOBYs you have, the faster your kombucha is going to ferment and the stronger it's going to be. One of the reasons why I like making the kombucha is because you get to determine all of that, right? It's based on what you like. The reason why I left them in is because I hadn't made kombucha in a while, and the longer you go without making a kombucha, the weaker the SCOBYs get. But the kombucha SCOBYs are looking pretty good, and that developed really fast, so I can get rid of half of that. You can give one to a friend. You can compost them, which I probably end up composting them. So what else we need right now immediately is 1 cup of organic sugar and 5 tea bags, green or black tea bags. If you want to use loose leaf tea, you can use loose leaf tea as well. I already posted and you'll see a link in the description of everything you need and where you can get all the ingredients. One of my favorite benefits of kombucha is the detoxification effect that it has, because not only is it high in probiotics, it's also high in digestive enzymes, and we know that our immunity and cleansing begins in our colon. Did you know that over 70% of our immune system is actually located in our gut? So this is one of my favorite reasons why I love kombucha, but there's so many more, so don't forget to check out this article right here. And also, if you're interested in detoxifying your body, I have a free 3-day detox meal plan that you can click the link right here, or you can find all of the links to everything I'm talking about in the description box. And after we remove the paper from the tea bags, we are going to add 3 quarts of distilled water or filtered water. I'm using my Berkey to our pot, and then we're going to let it come to the boil. After our water comes to the boil, we're going to turn off the heat, and we are going to add our sugar. Let that dissolve really well first, and then we'll add our tea bags and let this steep for about 6 hours. And you can remove the tea bags, or you can do like I do, because we cannot use the tea until it's completely at room temperature. You do not want to pour a hot tea on a live bacteria. You will kill it. So you usually let it cool down to room temperature. And for me, I usually make this at night, and then the next day in the morning, I go ahead and remove the tea bags, and then I'll show you the next step after that. So once you stir all the sugar in, add your tea bags, let them steep. You can let them steep for however long it takes for the water. That lid is not the right lid, okay, but anyway, however long it takes for it to cool down, which for me is overnight because I do it at night. And then we'll go to the next step. Okay, so now it's the next day. The next pieces of equipment you're going to need is, of course, your SCOBY with 1 cup of kombucha. So if this is your first time making it, you're going to have to go to the grocery store and get an unflavored kombucha, a raw one, and take 1 cup, or you can just do like I do and put the whole bottle in there And with your SCOBY that you either purchased, that you grew, or that, you know, a lovely sister gave you, like how I be doing, okay, with my sisters, okay? And then you're going to take your tea that you made and let cool down to room temperature, honey, and take out your tea bags if you have not already with clean hands, okay? And then pour that tea into your kombucha. And sis, do not throw those tea bags away. They are, what's the word? What's that we do? Compostable. They are compostable. So I take those tea bags and throw them right in the compost, honey. Okay? There is nothing that goes to waste over here. And don't worry about your SCOBY. It will float to the top if it's active, or you can kind of help it, kind of straighten it out or whatever. But don't worry, it will float to the top. Yeah, I'm helping it out. But you'll see a new SCOBY begin to form within a few days, and that's how you know that your SCOBY is active. Now, check this out. If your SCOBY, every SCOBY is different, and meaning that some are more active than others. So yours, if it's old and not very active, the bacteria in it, then it's going to take a little bit longer. But if it's very active, then, you know, it'll be about 2 days and you'll see the film. So 2 or 3 days, you'll see a little thin film, which is your new SCOBY. They call it a mother. Okay, this is kind of also just like making apple cider vinegar, which we can do if you want to. Okay, so after we put the tea in there and make sure we kind of wipe it off, dry it off, then we're going to put our cloth. So you can use paper towel. I usually get these cloths from like Target or the grocery store. They like cleaning towelettes. They last forever. They're washable, and I just fold them in half, put them on there, put my little rubber band, and then I put my kombucha in a dark place in the cabinet. Now don't worry if you don't have a dark place in the cabinet. Just set it on a counter somewhere. It'll be all right. It'll live. But I set the bacteria, the kombucha, in the cabinet for 7 to 10 days. It's based on your preference. 7 days is not going to be as acidic, so you're not going to have that as much as that vinegary taste. 10 days you'll have more, right? Some people let their kombuchas go longer. You can let it go actually up to 30 days. But once you start making your kombucha, and if this is your first time, I would say for you, if it is summertime, because temperature has a lot to play in how the fermentation process goes. So if it's cooler, fermentation is going to take longer. If it's hotter, fermentation is going to take less time. So if it's hot outside, above 75 degrees in your house rather, then you're going to just do the 7 days. But if it's cooler, wintertime, and y'all don't be kicking the heat and stuff like that, then do 10 days. But you can always taste it and test it after the 7 days to check for the acidity. So we'll go into all that in a moment, okay? But just right now, you're going to put your kombucha away for 7 to 10 days. 7 is for me how I like it, but for my husband, he likes his more stronger, more acidic, so 10 days for him. And you can also use pH strips. Kombucha is supposed to be acidic, so if this is your first time, you want to make sure you got it right. The pH should be like the first 1 to 2 on the acidic side, so like a golden color. But we can go over that later. Now is not the time. We will put our kombucha away. So just remember, have some kind of system. I use a sticky note, and I took it off the bottle, because when I close the cabinet, honey, I am not going to remember nothing that's going on in the cabinet. Okay, today is Wednesday. Remember, we started this on Sunday evening. And I just wanted to show you that there is a SCOBY already forming at the top. Can you see it? I hope you can. You see it, right? That little thin layer right there. So that means we're right on target. It's been about 10 days actually. So we went a little bit over than what I wanted to go, but it still smells nice and fresh. It doesn't smell very vinegary, but I still want to get rid of, you see all those, the new SCOBY. I'll show it to you in a minute. but I need to get rid of the other bottom older scobies that I told you about. But I do want to show you, if you're new and you're concerned and you want to be sure, this is very optional, you don't have to do this, but I want to show you how to test to make sure that it's ready, that it's acidic. So you know, wash your hands first, make sure your hands are clean, and then we can test our kombucha. Now, I don't do this anymore. This pH paper is so old. Like I said, 2013 is when I first started making kombucha. And somebody gave me it was this vegan restaurant that I used to go to. And they used to sell kombucha. And, you know, I used to inquire about like the kombucha. And so one of the ladies that worked there gave me a SCOBY, and I have moved about 1 million times and have not killed my kombucha, unlike something I could say from some of the other sisters I have given SCOBYs to. But anywho, we don't hold grudges, and the SCOBYs grow for free, okay? But I'm just saying. So anyway, did I just show you how thick that SCOBY was? Yes. And so I'm going to remove the older ones. I'm going to compost these. They're so old, I wouldn't want to give them to anybody. And when I do give away SCOBYs, I usually give off the top one and not the bottom, because I want to give my sister the freshest. Even if it looks a little darker, it doesn't mean that it's bad, but I like to give the freshest SCOBY. So I reserve 1 cup of the kombucha tea, and I'm just using this container to hold my kombucha and tea while I do my second fermentation process. But if you don't have tea that came with wherever you got your SCOBY from, then you're going to buy, remember, like I said, some raw kombucha tea from the grocery store, and just reserve that cup. Now, this kombucha is done. You don't have to do a second fermentation. That is totally optional. But if you're going for the fizz effect, for that carbonated drink effect, for that, if you used to like soda pop, or you know, you're trying to get away from beer or whatever type of carbonated drinks you love, then you're going to want to go for the second fermentation, and that is where we add fruit to it and let it sit for 2 to 4 days, depending on the weather. Remember what I told you, if it's cold, longer; if it's hot, shorter. And so it's a little bit cool here, so 3 or 4 days is doing pretty good with us. But as soon as it gets hot, make sure you lessen it. And make sure you use, if I forget to say this, honey, kombucha bottles. You cannot use any kind of bottle. They will explode. Let me repeat this. They will explode. Don't just get any kind of bottles. I will put links to where I get my bottles from, which is Amazon. And yeah, use kombucha bottles, okay? And quit playing. Now, there are several different ways you can flavor your kombucha. 3 off the top of my head is the first one, which is the one that I like to use, that I normally use, is I use fresh fruit. I have a complete video showing you how I flavor my kombucha. I will link it here. Fresh fruit, and then yeah, you can watch the video if you want to see that. That's my preferred method. But my Vitamixer broke, and I didn't have, because I usually grind the fruit in my Vitamixer, and I didn't have. So the second way you can ferment is to use 100% fruit juice. And so I did try that, and it was really good, actually. I used pomegranate juice, and then you can also just use the whole fruit without grinding it up in a processor. So it's up to you. I also made some jam. The first time that I made kombucha, I made a strawberry sugar-free jam, and I used that to flavor my kombucha, and that was delicious. But anyway, today we're going to be using the fruit juice because my Vitamixer is broken. But do watch the video on my preferred method of how I like to flavor my kombucha. Okay, you're gonna see that swipe up around here somewhere. Okay, so we're going to be using the juice today. I'm going to use about 2 cups of juice and just add this right into my kombucha. And I like to, once I add it to my kombucha, I'd like to add the juice to my Vitamix container because it has a spout. It's easier to pour, as opposed to if I add it right to the jar or container that I have it in now, then it'll be spilling all over the place. And also, once I add it into my Vitamix container, I also use a funnel, and I'll show you that process. And once we got all our kombucha and the juice mixed, then I'll just pour it right into my Vitamix container. And then we will, we're coming down the home stretch, sis, coming down the home stretch. It's going to be worth it. It looks like a lot of work. It's very easy, but it's going to be so worth it. And for the amount that you buy one kombucha in the store, you can make a whole gallon, okay? Or more. So these are the kombucha bottles I was talking about. Both of them. I have a 16 ounce and a 32 ounce bottle, which is a brown one. You can, of course, put these in a dishwasher, but you must take off the little metal caps first. There's also a kombucha it's a glass cleaning brush that I got off Amazon that makes it so much easier to clean the bottles. And if I can remember, I will link all of that to the bottom of this in the description or in the blog post. So make sure you just check all of the links that I put in the description box. So you see that I'm just pouring it in there. Now you want to leave some little head space at the top, because these bottles can explode as well as they produce the carbon, but they're much less likely than a non-kombucha bottle or a beer bottle. That's what they call them. When your first kind of pour is going to have more bubbles in it. So if you can, I usually spread it around the containers, that first pour, so that it's not as bubbly, but I mean, it's really not that deep. You can come back when the bubbles kind of calm down and pour more in there. But just make sure right at where the top of the bottle begins to change shape, then that's where you want to stop as far as filling it up, because you want to give that carbon some airspace. Okay. Oh, and I wanted to give you this quick tip. You see, I'm pouring the kombucha on the side and not straight down into the funnel. This actually helps prevent less bubbles when you pour it from the side and instead of pouring it straight down. Okay, and you see where I'm stopping? You don't want to you can get a little more in there, but right above where the bottle changes shape, don't go further. Okay, and once we finish pouring out all of our bottles, then I close up all of the caps, make sure they're secure. And if you're using a 16 ounce bottle, make sure you screw that lid on pretty tight. And then we're going to go for our second fermentation. And like I said, I'm doing 4 days because it's cooler months here. Also, you have, I meant to tell you, you can taste your kombucha. So before you pour it and everything, taste it to make sure that, you like the flavor. So I put another sticky for 4 days so I wouldn't forget. But remember, if it's colder, if it's hotter, then 2 days is pretty good. But you will be able to tell once you start making your own kombucha and seeing how carbonated it is, you will be able to make it exactly to your liking. And that's the fun of it. Oh, also right there is water kefir. I'm going to be showing you a video on how I make that. It is another probiotic drink. And then I clean out my bottle or my jar that I had it in before, and I go ahead and put everything back in there, and now it's ready for me to make another batch of kombucha. If I know I'm not going to be making another kombucha within a week or two, then I need to just at least boil some, make some tea and pour it in there just a little bit so that the SCOBY doesn't dry out. So this is a way, if you know you're not going to be making it for a while, then you want to keep your SCOBY alive, just put some tea in there, honey, okay? And the SCOBYs will keep getting thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker. And that's another way, if you wanted to sell SCOBYs, you can make your SCOBYs. Just keep, a bunch of tea in there and boom. Okay, sis, it's been 4 days. So now we're going to take our kombucha and put it in the fridge I like to do for 24 hours, but until it's cold. And then we'll be ready to taste. Okay, we are ready to taste. Now this step right here is optional, but because there's always like a little SCOBY growing at the top, I like to strain mine. I don't like the taste of, well, not the taste, but the mouthfeel of a slimy SCOBY. So some people actually drink it because it is good bacteria, but I don't. Okay, so I use a paint strainer bag and I strain it, and then I pour it in whatever container I'm going to be drinking it out of. You open it, I would suggest you open it over the sink, because depending on how carbonated it is, how long you let it ferment and all of that, it could explode. So it could be really fizzy and just come out like a fountain. I have messed up many of ceilings and window sills and all of that because yeah, I didn't do that, or I wouldn't say I over fermented, because I like the fizziness. Now you see that fizz? Do you see that fizz? Oh my god, oh my god. And then yeah, I just strain it right quick with the I use these paint strainer bags to make nut milk, so I always have them on hand, and I just pour them right into my drink and right into my cup, rather. And give it a taste. Look at that. Oh, look at that fizz. We gotta just pause on that fizz right there. That's perfect. That's the perfect kombucha.